Hey guys, this is the Iamvanguard podcast with Simon and Mark, and Domino Paris is running a little late.
Hello.
Hello.
So, as you see on the title, we do want to go ahead and kind of talk about the cost of Vanguard with the inflations, budgeting, and future Bushiroad events or anything in the future related to this game. So, think we can kind of bounce back and forth, and I think this will be a more shorter podcast than the regular ones, just because our topic's kind of simple compared to the other ones that we have done.
Yeah, so I'll start the lead on this then.
Yeah.
The as the title goes, and what we are going to be discussing today is going to be, like budgeting in Vanguard. As can be plainly seen at the time of this recording, is that prices for the game have gone relatively kind of nutso mode in comparison to like some old dudes like, us seeing Vanguard prices back in the day or even pre-DZ and stuff like that. And, there's a lot of questions that fly around, at least in my local community. It's like, how do we afford to play Vanguard anymore? Like, Vanguard used to be like, the cheap niche card game. But now, because demand has gone so high, seemingly on our cards, we're looking at really expensive stuff right now. A particular point of contention that has been spoken about in a lot of communities has been the price of the new Dual Nation generic units that came out. Some of them going over 30, 40, $50, which is previously for staples even that's just unheard of in Vanguard. And if you want to play your deck at the maximum, if you want to get the most optimal percentages out of your deck, you gotta play certain cards in them. And a lot of the times these cards are included. And the relation that can have to the game is that it also makes the entry, like the bar of entry, a lot more difficult because not only do you have that imposing wall looking at you of how much am I going to have to invest to play like this deck I may like, especially because our card game does have a lot of young people that decide to play it as well. And it turns into this scenario where, the wallet is competing against the price of Vanguard. It competes against, what if you just got into cheaper card games like Pokemon instead? And just how this affects the scene for our game in total. What it means to be budget anymore in the game, because can that even be a thing now?
Mm-hmm.
And outside of that budget, like what does that mean that Bushiroad's going to try to do? What do we want them to do to try to rectify this? Those are going to be the main talking points for this conversation. And, after that's sort of where we'll start off with. I'll let David or Mark lead on after this.
Well,
I'll state my
so
opinions closer towards the end.
so what is budget in Vanguard, right? Like, how much for a deck that you're building is budget from your all's opinion?
See, like, it's difficult for me to answer that question because I've never really been in the budget of Vanguard
Fair.
or in the budget for Vanguard before, right? So, I can sort of say like some generic stuff like, oh, well, budget for me in Vanguard is like um, decks that are under like $100 and stuff. But
I think
that
that's kind
gets
of valid
just
for
so
standard.
much more. Yeah, exactly. Like that just can't exist anymore because even in the scenario of a budget deck, right? You still have staples you need to acquire that all start racking up their costs.
Right.
Like and those are in archetype. Like you look at Rokuseis right now, and you saw that crazy dude that bought them out when they announced the evil Varga, and then whoever did the buyout single-handedly rose the price of an $8 to $12 Rokusei, and he is now sitting at $33 for his cheapest price, which is insane.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
huge
You
price.
have
Ironically enough,
exactly.
I've considered, and I talked to David about this, I think, but I have considered keeping everything in Varga accept Rokusei and just selling my 4 Rokusei just to get $100 because like
Yeah.
everything else in Varga is so cheap.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
and like it's I think it's easier to be a budget deck in standard than premium because of the nature of
Yeah.
premium just being an extra deck, and we don't get as many reprints of cards because like right now the dual nation cards are all generally with the exception of Lechuga are all hovering around $40 to $50 ish.
He said Lechuga.
Hey,
And
let's shoot
here's the
it right
thing,
there.
they're really expensive now, but probably within the next year or so, we're going to get a reprint
Yeah.
of all 5 of them. So they'll go down. But the problem is that for our eternal formats, which, V and premium, we don't get reprints for things. So,
Yep.
with the exception of like if they do their premium deck sets, but the problem is that those are incredibly niche products that don't necessarily help bring the cost down most of the time because unless they are the deck products are cheap enough, people aren't buying the deck products. They're often going to sit on the shelves because most people they're not going to who already have premium decks are only going to buy the pieces from those premium decks. Alternatively, if they don't have them, they might just buy the one piece they need, i.e. Messiah, and then buy whatever the rest of the cards for their actual premium deck they want to play. So it's tricky for premium. I don't think that premium really is. I don't want to say it isn't relevant because like premium is relevant. It's the other format. It's the second largest Vanguard format. But I think that really standard is what you want to be your entry point for the game, anyways, because it's just more simpler to understand. You already have like the G zone mechanic in standard, so you can sort of start bridging the gap between standard and premium with that. But I think that standard really is the important thing there.
Yeah, like Bushiroad has shown over time, especially, that honestly, it kind of sucks to say it, but they just don't really care about premium
No,
anymore.
they do not.
And they actively design cards so that you can't use them in premium. Just that is no more doubt in my mind about that after they showed us the recent encounter support coming out of set 6, and I was like, that's sort of just like the mask off moment, right, where they just go, no, like, what's premium? We haven't given you guys a new like boxed product for yourselves, like a new card set
Yep.
for a long time now, and any cards that can go into your guys' decks we specifically designed so that they cannot.
Yeah. I would say though, I do have a personal perspective on budget, right? So I think the term budget in Vanguard, like for Vanguard decks, I think it really depends on how serious you are with the game. If you're not serious with the game, like one of our buddies, Max, he probably invested in like the effect triggers and the perfect guards, and that was pretty much it. And then just the main core of the deck. So that probably cost him like less than $50, right? So I think that's budget in a way. Um, Also technically, the MyGo deck is budget because the whole deck plus promos will probably cost you less than $10. And then if you want to use a blue OT, that's like $22 in total. So that's technically budget. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like super great, but it's budget. Like the decks that me and Mark play, like I play Direful Dolls, which is could be hella budget, especially after set 5. Exception of the promo being like $15 to $20 because it just came out. But Direful Dolls will definitely be the more budgeter side in the future. Um,
Yeah.
you play Bruce, right? So Bruce is
Yep.
like I think Bruce is more on the budgeter side.
He is
Yeah.
definitely on the budget
Bruce
side.
is
Even
Bruce
after
is
his price increases and the stabilization of the promo, that deck
yeah.
is back to being sub 100, sub 150. So, like, I think a good thing to take from what David is saying right now and a good thing to lay out is like what is the boundary of budget in Vanguard now, right? Like, what do we think is
Ooh,
budget and how
that's
far do you push?
That's a really
And
good
that's a really
point.
that's a really complicated question because like all of us are just so used to getting the things we need for our decks. It's like, oh, you need 4 energy cyclers. They're $60 for a set, if not 90. And you're like, oh, I got those already. Or it's like, oh, you need Asperonia, at
Yeah.
least 1 or 2 in this deck. It's like, oh, I got those on release. Like
I
a
think
lot of
that
us.
I think the way to tell if a deck is going to be budget in Vanguard is how xenophobic is it. That's quite honestly the easiest way to tell if a deck is going to be budget.
Well, I'll tell you right now, buddy, that my Keter Sanctuary decks don't have black guys in it, so
Yeah, but I honestly
Yeah.
I think that like how xenophobic a deck is kind of determines how budget it is. Because if you look like, for example, and the only reason I'm thinking about this deck is because I just looked the cards up for it. The Mythiarch deck is incredibly xenophobic. Like you
yep,
really can't afford to play any cards that aren't Mythiarch cards.
yep, full
So
archetype, straight up.
the whole deck. So right there,
Or Stardust Blade is another really good example for
Oh
what you're saying
yeah.
right now as well, Mark. Stardust Blade's a
yeah,
really good example of that.
That's a
yeah,
really good budget deck.
Yo, it's super
mhm,
good budget deck.
And
yeah.
yeah, and if you happen to pull the Sanctitude in your box.
Yeah, if you pull the
Right.
Sanctitude in your Virgilla start deck, you've got a really solid foundation. And the only cards that I would see that you want to put in there,
Effect triggers.
first of all, even if you don't open your Elementaria, you're still getting 4 of the actual good PG.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yep.
not like you're opening up the old quick start deck ones that were always discard, or the original D starter decks where they had the you have to discard. You're
Yeah,
still
yeah.
getting
Oh,
a really solid
and
PG.
also remember Virginia also gives you the Union in the Sky Regalis piece as well, which is really
Yep.
big. That's why people buy it.
Not just that,
Yeah.
the energy generator also comes in, which is what, a
Yep.
$15 card before the set?
And I
But
mean,
yeah, like
an $18.
Bushiroad always gets
Yeah.
it with their box product. That's why Virginia is so good.
Yeah, I think that generally Bushiroad's done a really good job with their starter decks. I think this one specifically is really good. The only cards that I would really swap out, I think you need to get, would be uh 4 copies of Latifa, and then you probably want 4 copies of Shenri, and you can kind of play around with the ratios. But I think Shenri's dipped down pretty significantly now, hasn't she? I don't.
She's at 14.
Shenri?
Yes.
Why?
Because some
And
losers want to
Latifa's
buy
went
off.
up as well. I believe Latifa's went up as well when Stardust Blade came out.
Dang. Well, never mind. I suppose I will retract my statement. Latifas are $11.
But I mean,
Uh,
but overall, what Mark is trying to get to is that even like for a $20 deck, like a trial deck, it's a decently playable deck. Is what he's trying to get to. Like if it wasn't the whole inflation going on right now, which we'll talk about more in a little bit, I feel like
yeah.
that it will be a really good deck to play, and the stuff would have been relatively cheap to build, if it wasn't the whole inflation going on right now. So to Mark's
Sort
point,
of.
yeah, to Mark's point, I feel like that. Yeah, I mean that's a good budget deck.
Yeah, like I think a
Like
lot of
box
what can
products.
be
Yeah, yeah.
solidified from this discussion right now, right, is that the box products make a really good entry point because those do give us a budget way of getting into the game.
Yeah.
And especially if you buy something like, I mean, not the Fafnir deck, but Graham Grace is functional out of the box. Stardust Blade, any of the Will Dress decks can generally function out of the box. But I think we should set the sign, like the fences, to say, is there even a budget deck in Vanguard anymore? Because to me, what budget means, right, is that you can get the necessary upgrades for the deck to make it close to optimal, and if not just optimal, and it still costs like within the goalpost, the fences that we set up here. Like, sort of like Red Deck Wins in Magic the Gathering is a really classic example of a budget deck, especially in like, formats like Legacy, or something, where it's like, all right, 3 ball lightnings, 4 ball lightnings, 4 lightning bolts, yada yada yada, and it may not be the best, but you have a deck that can play for like less than $100, which is sort of where I set the boundary there, right? In Vanguard, I feel like that just gets so much more difficult because just going through the best selling page on TCG right now,
Yeah.
all of our generic cards are just so expensive. And
Yeah.
I understand that, we have contraction and inflation that happens during times like now when TCG did their kickback sale.
Hmm.
But that supply is bought. It doesn't go back. And if it wants to stabilize, we just don't know where it stabilizes at, so it could just be the new norm. And I
Yeah.
think that's sort of like what we brought up at the beginning is that what is budget in Vanguard anymore? Where is the new goalpost? And like, what is it kind of worth it to upgrade your deck with these cards that you need to make the deck
Yeah.
feel really good and optimal?
Yeah.
And Vanguard, it just feels like a budget deck now, guys. It's like 150 or $200 just because you might have to, like Mark was mentioning, you might have to play 4 Latifahs and 4 Shenris, and that's going to run you all the way up to like $120 to upgrade a $20 starter deck.
And might as well just play like a good deck for $200, right?
Yeah.
Exactly, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
and
That's the
uh
problem.
exactly what Mark is saying. That is the problem, is that our game keeps getting more and more expensive. We keep getting this inflation that happens on our online sites. And like key cards, right? Some of them do go down eventually. Like Alvina finally dropped down to sub 20 and stabilized there. Tethfully has finally dropped down below $30. But because, prospectors are always prowling on TCG Player and they know what's coming next. Nilbarus, the triple R for Raziel, has gone up to 35 for its resting price. And it originally came out for like sub 10 because they're preying on people that want to build Raziel now. And it turns into like this sort of question we have to ask for the budget side, right? Is, if a card is going to go down to become budget rare, how long do we have to wait for it to become budget rare? What's going to
Yeah.
dictate it?
Year and a year
And
and a half.
it's yeah, and it feels like we're playing Yu-Gi-Oh stocks again, dudes. And I hated doing that. I hated playing Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic stocks. But I feel like we're in
Yep.
that same sort of space now.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we're at the point where you are buying a split for every set. And if you're not buying a split, you are making sure to buy a playset of the triple rares and double rares when they
Exactly.
plummet like 2 weeks after the set comes out.
Yeah.
And then they go up again because the set goes out of print.
Yeah.
So I think,
Yeah,
Exactly.
I
it's
think
just like Mark was
budget,
saying.
yeah, budget's a very weird line in Vanguard. As you were saying, just because how inflation and everything kind of applies, and then what Bushiroad hasn't been really doing well, is to reprint certain cards so the prices will go down. So I think we can all agree that right
Yeah.
now it's an awkward place.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think Bushiroad is starting to get the message on reprints, right?
Hmm.
Like they did a really good thing in set 6 where like it's the in-between set, so it's a throwback set, right? It's all the non-anime decks, which is really nice. And to take up slots, they are reprinting the first 2 stride decks in them, which are out of print. That's really good. That's really nice of them
Yeah.
to do.
Oh,
And
I
they're
mean,
reprinting the stride dragons.
I don't know. I wasn't here for the week where you guys discussed Set Six, but me personally, I am not. I'm not a big fan of Set Six. I think that it has a lot of. It's cool. Like it does some cool stuff in there, but I think it generally has. It's a lot of flaws. It's a lot of. It feels like empty card design. Um, I don't like the strides it's bringing in. I don't think that those two specifically, the way they interact with their own crest.
oh,
I
the
don't think
Chronos
they're.
command and the
Chronos Command is bad. Spaghetti Messiah is insane. That's what I will say on that.
I
But
I
like
I I don't think that those two cards should exist in standard because
they
I
should have
think that
just stayed at 8 strides, is what you're saying.
no. I don't want to say that. I just think that those effects when there aren't mass ways to protect the board turn after turn, I think those effects are a bit Like,
No, Mark is right on that one. Like these strides are pretty overtuned from the math perspective, where they spend one card to get rid of four of yours on average, right? It's
Right.
sort of like
exactly.
you look like we'll pass from the subject because this can be a set six discussion
Yeah,
for
yeah,
another
yeah,
day
yeah,
after this.
Yeah, yeah.
But
yeah.
from what Mark is saying, he is correct. Like the card economy that the comparison for card economy of Varga wiping the board with the Dark Worm effect versus a Stride doing it four times in a row for a not committal discard. It's pretty rough card economy. So he's right there. But yeah, like to finish off what I was saying about set six is I think set six is good for reprints. I think Bushiroad is starting to get the message in some way, which
Like
is
the
a big thing.
dragons, right?
Like the
Like the
reprint
dragon reprints are
exactly.
amazing.
Exactly, the Stride Dragons, and reprinting the first two Stride decks, because that makes the implication that when the third Strides come out for Luard and Shiranui, which are the more expensive Stride decks, they'll reprint those too, and that's going to be really nice.
And what's really gonna
And
help is the inflation. It's gonna help with the
exactly,
premium decks. Because
yep,
you know how a
exactly.
premium deck needs four Master Gears, and this is a perfect set to get those Master Gears.
Yeah, or the Sentinel Shield
Yeah,
for Luard, right? The Luard, the Stealth Sentinel and the Shadow
yep.
Sentinel, both of those really expensive. So now, because of the implication Bushiroad has made, you can prospect that they're going to reprint them as commons coming up in the next retro set. Which is like, I agree with Mark that there are fundamental problems with every set, especially six, for certain card economies. That's a different conversation. But I want to make a statement on the baseline that I think the reprint side of set six is really, really good right now. It implies that
Absolutely, yeah.
Bushiroad
Yeah,
knows the direction to go in.
like
And I'm all
100%.
like,
Yeah.
straight up, that's what I want to see. If they know what to reprint,
Like
that means they're gonna go again.
I feel like that now that I'm seeing the Dragons getting reprinted, I can definitely see like them reprinting recyclers, right? And then
Exactly.
potentially the
Yeah,
festival collection stuff like by next year is what I'm thinking.
I think
Um,
yeah.
Festival Collection is
like
what's gonna do it actually.
yeah, because like looking at the order of stuff that they're printing, they're reprinting the dragons, which is like from set 13. The set after, or 13? 12? Anyways, after that it's Divine, so they're probably gonna start reprinting these Divine cards. So I
Yeah, it's like
definitely think it's
they
in a good
reprint
place.
what's hot.
Yeah,
Yeah, they reprint what's hot and what's like makes sense, right? You
Yeah.
know, for a set that comes out with the two strides on the front and reprinting both of their decks inside the set, like here you go. Here's the Stride Dragons. I was like, sick. They come up with Festival Booster next. I'm like, dude, Cyclers, double R reprint
yep.
right there. Instant win. Instant win.
Man, if they can reprint like the Reverties and stuff like that, amazing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. I think that I am I'm really interested on this subject about what their next financial presentation is going to bring because it takes a long time to set in stone the railway to print a set of cards, right? And so I think because Bushiroad has shown that they're a little savvy on what we sort of need,
Mhm.
I'm like, hey, when they make their presentation, I believe in January, I'm all like, they announce reprint sets, they announce more products coming out in the year, more stuff outside of a main set, right? Like, oh, festival collection. Well, what if we gave you the reprint collection? And it's like, man,
That'll be great. I was gonna say actually, so this is kind of going off topic a little bit, but I just want your all's opinion on something. So speaking of budget, right? So let's say, for example, um, we're already passing Night Rose and Harry. So let's say next year they do another Stride deck, but they decide to up the price on the product, but they give the Stride decks like another staple, like effect triggers, for example. Do you think the up in the price will be worth purchasing a new Stride deck because it has like effect triggers in it?
honestly, my opinion is leaning on the yes side because even though like you could make the effort to go out onto TCG Player to buy your missing effect triggers, which aren't that expensive, there is a cost of convenience that
Right.
is involved in packaged products that we pay. And especially with the oh man, dude, the new fronts being double R rips my soul out of my
Oh,
chest. But oh man, but like reprinting effect triggers that did really well for Lyrical Monasterio in their
Yeah.
latest thing. I'm like, you know what? Make it convenient. I think that's what people pay the most for in packaged product is they want a convenient, well packaged product that's really good to take out of the box and plug and play.
So another idea I had, if I was a Bushiroad staff, so instead of so we would have a premium deck set and a regular deck set, right? So for the regular deck set, we'll put like the effect triggers, and then maybe make it $100 instead of what 60 is what it's going for. So retail will be like 110, whatever. The premium one is going for like what 300, I believe, or 200, something in that range.
So it should be going for 250 at most places.
Okay, so what if instead of like, so for the 250, right? So they'll give you what they have. But let's say they increased it to 300 and they added all the staples in the deck, but lower rarity. Would that be worth
So
it?
effectively reprinting a bunch of like our staples like cyclers and stuff, and then increasing the price of the deck is what you're saying, right?
Yes, but you still get the full like foil of, I don't know, Night Rose and whatever, not like
Well, yeah, you get
regular.
your one
Yeah, yeah,
foil of everything. That's just how it works.
right, right. Like it's the premium deck set. Like it's a premium set that has
Hmm.
everything, like a full package product where you
I
don't have
think
to
you
spend
should.
anything else.
I think you should probably go first on this, Mark, before I go because I have a pretty long tirade about that.
Why don't you go first, Simon?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing about stuff like that is that as someone who has played and Wizards of the Coast Magic a lot, I think there's a certain point where when you put reprints inside of something that costs that much, that's when it starts getting a little iffy. Like a good example is what you were speaking about earlier, which is, four energy cyclers, effect triggers, effect sentinel shields and stuff, yada yada, and you put it into $100 package, right? I think that is incredibly worth it. And then when it goes to what you're speaking about like the premium deck set, the 250 thing,
Hmm.
like
Too
it's
much.
Yeah.
tough to say, right?
Yeah.
Because relatively speaking, let's be real here, the premium deck sets are never really worth it.
No.
Like actually, like you're buying the premium deck set to have ease of the convenience of getting all your foils together for a deck you really really like, right? You get the cute little tokens that most of us don't use. I use them as flip coins for the most part. You get the cool storage boxes, which I do actually use and I like those a lot. But if I were to say like you can look at a lot of these decks on the secondary market and maybe like 4 to 6 months after, most of them will depreciate from their original 250. I think that on one side, if you did that with these foils upgrades of your staple cards, like the energy cyclers, if they were to come in
Hmm.
them, sure, like that's nice. But when the energy cyclers already have their triple R rarity, whose value is going to be depreciated by the original print in the first place of this product that we are theoretically talking about, I think a problem that comes there is that you start losing a lot of value in the staples to the point where they crash. And I think that's what most card game companies need to look out for. That's why they have a hand on the pulse and why they're so slow to do reprints for the most part is they're keeping an eye on the crash of these cards. Because their prices on the secondary market are a driving force to purchase the base product that they are in. And that's why most card companies are really allergic to reprints, especially Japanese ones.
Hmm.
So while I want to lean on the side of yes, where I want to say, yeah, I agree with David, where we should make these cards really accessible by putting them in more packaged products, like what he's saying. It's really dangerous on the company side of Bushiroad to depreciate their staples so much that it sort of turns into why would we buy the set, right? If it's still on shelves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I think that's one of the big reasons why Magic does what it does and we all hate it. And they lean on the company side versus that. It's such a finely balanced dagger
Mhm.
for when is it good for both of us, right? Because
Right.
a corporation will always choose where they are better ahead of us in the scenario. What the dream is that we find the middle point where we both benefit really well. And it's my paranoia and general distrust, I should say this, that I don't like flirting with the line very often because I don't want the situation to get worse than it already is. That's that's what I have to say about it. It's a little non-committal, but I think if I were to make a statement on this, I would like Bushiroad to make sets dedicated to reprints instead of putting them in packaged products.
Yeah.
I think putting in stuff
So
like the
something like
Elementaria.
revival selection.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
No, that's 100% valid.
Yeah, I think that it's important for um I think that the problem is that we went so long without getting good reprint sets that we got like two, and then we are like, oh, Bushiroad. Oh man, you're so amazing. You treat us so well, and we're like, nah, bro. Like Konami reprints their staples like once a year, bro. Like we're kind of behind the curve on this, you know?
Where it's like what I was saying earlier with you, Mark. We are literally in the abusive girlfriend relationship with Bushi.
Yeah, dead ass, bro.
Oh man.
That for serious, it's crazy because like Revival Selection, such a good product, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Like, oh my gosh, like even though some of the cards in that set can't be used because within a week of them that set coming out, they were banned, right? Um, that's not necessarily the set we need because I don't know if you remember this or I don't know if you've seen this, but there are stores that still have cases of Revival Selection on their
Yes,
shelf
I've seen them. I've
because
got one
the
locally, just like
problem
you're
is
talking
the
about.
problem is that the prices were too expensive for the boxes. If Bushy had made those boxes MSRP $40, boom, easy peasy. Like those things still fly off the shelves. The problem is they were $100 almost,
Yeah, that's a
like
lot.
80 to
Oh,
$100 in most stores.
oh my god.
Yeah, and like here's the thing, right? Is that the guaranteed promo? If it guaranteed a Zeroth Dragon, even then it would still not be worth it. But I remember because it was like Zeroth Dragons, and I think one of the other ones was Hanali, and another Cray Elemental were the other two. If you got a Hanali or the other Cray Elemental, you negged super hard, unless your SP was like exactly the gear, exactly bear lock, right?
Uh,
I think that when we do these reprint sets, they have to be something that's like a once a year thing, and they can't be the same style as Revival Selection. Like if you give us one big reprint set a year, instead of doing Festival and giving us Festival Booster, just give us one reprint set for the year. Like give us 10 packs of 5 in a box, make it, 25 $30. We'll probably be fine as long as you reprint staples and cards that are necessary. Don't reprint bulk double rares. That's another problem Bushy has. Is we get a lot of reprints of cards that don't need reprints. Why are we getting
yeah.
reprints of bulk
Yeah.
double rares?
No, I
Or
100%
and,
agree.
and the problem is like I understand that like the Bushy market in Japan is different than in America, but we have a Bushiroad team for America, and we have a Bushiroad team in for global, and we have a team for Japan. Um, so make it separate. It's okay to be separate. Like we can still have, you know, if we just made it separate, we could have separate ban lists. We could have separate. We could have a more. I think they could be more hands on with the secondary market. They could be like, oh wow, like Forward and Revertus is $60. Asperonia and Saphira is $60. Like, that's a big thing. And in Japan, that is not the case.
It is not the case whatsoever. I've been on that Yuyute.
And like, like I was telling David yesterday, we were at locals and I sold my 3 copies of Aspronia and Saphira to someone for $110. It was a homie discount. And someone was like, well, aren't you gonna feel bad like if that car goes up more? And I'm like, why would I feel bad? I spent $45. I just made 70. Why would I care?
Hmm.
I don't care what
Yep.
I don't care what the guy I sold him to does with it. I already made a profit
Yeah.
and I did
That.
nothing.
Yep. You're a good
Like
man, Mark. And also, I would like to put in a friend request so that we can be homosexuals with each other. Now that I've heard about your prices.
Homosexual.
yeah. Listen,
I'm a good friend. I listen, and I take the belt very well. Sorry, what?
I always give David knows I always give homie discounts to everybody, bro.
He does.
Because I feel like right, the way I see it is if I give you a homie discount, then I can spread the name and the good word of my Lord and Savior Diabolus Vehemence Bruce
My man.
amongst the people. Um, but no, back to the main point. Sorry. Um, so the reprinting is an issue that we've always talked about, but I don't even think we necessarily need to be doing reprints. I just think that the important thing for Bushiroad to do is to start printing staples at lower rarities.
Mhm.
Energy cyclers, those cards should be rare. I understand that you want to keep the player base buying your cards, right? And I know you want to keep you want them to buy their sets so the stores can buy the boxes so that people go to the store and people spend money at the store, blah 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 blah, consumerism, capitalism, right? But when it comes to those
I'm allergic
things,
to those words.
if you print the energy cyclers at rare, if you print your ride phase cyclers at rare, you've lowered the entry point of staples for the game because we used to be in a format before Divine started, we used to be in a very like these are the decks. These decks are expensive. There's not a lot of staples. There's like there's obviously there's going to be staples, but they're generally only geared towards one deck. So it's really all you want. Like Brainwash Swirler was one of them. Um, oh my goodness, Esperaridia.
Yep.
Um,
Asperidia, Painkiller
those
Angel.
Painkiller Angel, yeah, those cards, right? But those cards weren't needed in every deck. They were only good in a couple decks, but they were the best decks. But now we're at a point where the cards you need are your staples, and they're all high rarity. So all your staples are expensive. So unless you're playing, like I said, an incredibly xenophobic deck like Diabolus, Vehemence Bruce, or you're playing Mythiarch, it's really, really tough to get an entry point in. You have to really be, you know, you have to really like the manga copy paste from the art of Virgilla. Like you really gotta like it.
Hey,
Uh
hey, hey! You leave the Digimon out of right. He didn't choose how to be
oh
drawn.
look, I love it. I love it. I've been playing David knows I've been playing Virgilla since set 3 or set 2 came out.
Step
I've been
two.
playing
Yep.
Virgilla.
I've been very
Yeah.
excited for Virginia.
I considered taking it to BCS this year, but then I decided that I liked playing Bruce slightly more. And also, the person I was supposed to get my Virgilla deck from didn't show up to locals for like 2 weeks,
Ooh.
so I didn't have time to
See,
prep.
dude, like it's really funny because one of my good friends, he bought Virginia just to get the Regalis piece, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, I don't like the way this deck plays. It's just Red Royal Paladin. And I was all like, it perked up my ears, like, hmm? And then
Oh.
I was like, so I'm taking this. And he just looked at me. He's all like, yeah. I was like,
Yeah, I
cool,
don't
free
blame.
Virginia.
We love to see it. We love to see it.
No, I
But
mean
yeah,
it's
like with
funny
what
though.
Mark's talking about, it is true what Mark's talking about is
Mhm.
that their rarity, because that is in relation to their availability on the market, does adversely affect their secondary resting price, right? Like two of the ones we just mentioned
Yeah.
from earlier sets, which is Brainwash Swirler and Painkiller Angel. Painkiller Angel's seen what is this? The same amount of printings as Swirler, I believe, if not close to it. And
Yeah.
she is sitting at a crisp sub $1 right now. But then you look at
Hmm.
Swirler, and every single print is over or close to $10. And it's just like that thing Mark was talking about. It's availability, right? Look, because that's the thing about making your staples like available It's sort of like you ask somebody that doesn't know about our card game, and you go, "Should Lightning Bolt be a mythic rare?"
Absolutely not.
Exactly. And I think that's parallel to the point that Mark is making, is that I think Japan has this allergy, or it's not even an allergy. It's a malicious way of thinking about it because it's predatory to us, the customers, in that if they know that they're going to print a card that's going to be really, really good, really available, right? And they know that a lot of decks are going to need it. They think of it as instead of a way to get us to be able to get the card easier to have more fun with the game, they up it to a triple R, and then they make that one of the pulls of the set. And you now have this dichotomy, or not dichotomy, duology between what I just mentioned with like should Lightning Bolt be a mythic rare versus should the energy cyclers be triple R. And it's like,
Yeah.
what Lightning Bolt mythic rare? No, every red deck has to play that. Making it mythic rare is absolutely insane. Versus over here where it's like, oh yeah, this card, what it does is that it draws me a card for discard during one phase of the game, of which I only get 3 times in a game. I'm like, oh cool, how much is that card? Yeah, $35.
Yep.
Oh,
Love to see it.
oh. Yeah, and like it sort of reminds me, it's a kind of a parallel, right? Of like SP Little Knight in Yu-Gi-Oh is a good example, or IP Masquerena, where they're just so easily able to get them in Japan, crossing the pond, but Konami America is like, oh, we're just going to upgrade the rarity for SP Little Knight, and I'm like, yeah, yeah. Except Bushi Japan chooses to do this. I agree with Mark, where I know that watching the secondary market is important for us to hold value for our cards, but if you were to push me into giving a statement on it, so I'm not a fence sitter, I would say I would rather see our cards depreciate to see more people play the game rather
Yeah,
than my own
Yeah.
collection retaining value.
I really prefer if more people are playing. To be fair, like on my
Mm-hmm.
perspective, like Mark knows, but I've been kind of dedicating my Vanguard time to get more people into the game versus like try to be a good player because I'm not a good player anyway. So I was like, you know what? Let's just get more people in so we can have fun and have a bigger locals. So I mean that's always
Yeah.
been like my attention ever since I got back in the game. So I feel like that, like Mark was saying, is like I'd rather have a cheaper budget for staples for new players to come in, because when new players are coming in, they're gonna buy more box products anyways. Is
Yep.
how I feel like. So
Yeah,
I just feel like that doing that, you're bringing your customers anyways, but you guys chose a poor decision to like how to get people in to buying into your products. Like I feel like that if I
yeah,
was running a business, right? I think my main aim isn't the profitability at the moment. It's more customer come in for a slighter less profit is probably a much better idea for a business run. At least like from my perspective.
yeah. Like we're
Yeah.
the customers. Of course, we want this to happen.
Yeah, and like I said, I feel like that this is probably a good way to kind of hop onto another topic. Same thing but different conversation points.
Sure.
Vanguard inflation affecting during in tournament seasons, because that's
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
affecting people
really
to
and
build their
bad.
also
decks to play at regionals.
exactly. Yeah, because we have the predatory, we have prospectors, and they know when tournament season comes around, so they start buying up the closer we get to it. And it does not help whatsoever that during tournament season is also generally when the anime gets its most powerful upgrades for the end of their season.
And it is impossible to get people in during the season, because luckily, like I brought Gabe right before the inflation kicked in, so I was able to get all of our guys started around set 2. So this
Yeah.
is like when BCS was about to start. So luckily these players were able to get their cards a little cheaper. But now when I'm trying to get newer players in, this is like the worst season.
Yeah.
We've
Absolutely.
never had our inflation hit this level of scale before, in my
Yeah, this
opinion.
is crazy.
And yeah, like in this current time of this recording, seeing $60 staples in Vanguard is absolutely asinine.
Is the
Yeah, and
donation
it's
$60 now?
yes.
Oh, that's so good.
Saphira and Asperonia and Ford and Robertus are both $60-ish.
Ooh.
I think that it's actually interesting. I find that well, Asperonia and Saphira is expensive because we're about to get cards from set 5, but the big
Yep.
reason that it shot up is actually it became a staple in
Premium.
Mega Colony decks
Yep.
as a way to push that deck from tier 1 to like the tippy top of tier 1.
Oh,
Um,
I hate seeing Mega Colony and Premium. Oh my gosh.
Jason
yeah.
borrowed my deck because I have those and I own the dual nation cards. So
Yep.
Dude, I play aggro decks, man. Mega Colony literally says I don't get to play the game.
Yeah, I mean to bring up the point that I think it's interesting that there's actually a reason for that card to be as expensive as it is because there's two different um
Formats.
yeah, there's two different formats.
Yep,
that use
and they both
yeah.
require it.
And Forward and Revertus does not is from what I remember, maybe I'm tripping, but I don't remember Forward and Revertus getting played in premium.
Mm-mm.
No, it's because ODM is about to come out. Because people are prospecting right now that ODM is going to get their Dark States will be getting their Shenri clone pretty soon, and
Yeah.
Forward and Revertus allow you to do a loop play with them.
Yeah. See, the thing is, like, man, that's another card I'm worried about, and I'm kind of glad that you kind of mentioned that, right? Dark State Shenri just changes the whole outcome of Dark States, right? And I feel like that card coming out is a very scary thing to see
Well,
when it comes to like inflation, right? Like if they don't print it as a promo like for a box purchase, right? I and they
something that
decide,
should be said
yeah.
before you continue, David.
Mhm.
Something that should be said before you continue. Remember, all of these cards were box toppers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But see, what I'm scared of
Yeah.
is that they're like, you know what? F it. We are gonna send this as a promo. F.
And a tournament pack. I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be crazy. Imagine the amount of people fighting over this card, and imagine
People are
the
already going
yeah.
to be fighting over it now.
I mean I probably still will, but like imagine like the amount of people like try to get this card and inflating this price on it. Like
Yeah.
God,
We're talking about the Fairy Dark States promo, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
whatever.
Henry, yeah.
Whatever its name is.
Like
Yeah,
as a Dark States main, I need that card, right? And so does
Well,
everyone
yeah.
else.
Yeah, because
Man,
these cards are so powerful that
it
they
is.
shift deck building around them.
you
That's
know
how
what
powerful these great ones
what's
are.
great is that I don't need
Yet.
Yeah, because he
hashtag
plays
Diabola's vehemence Bruce.
and he plays
We are archetype locked,
yeah.
and I am okay with this.
And he
Yeah,
also plays dolls now, so yeah. It's
it's
cheaper
true.
decks.
Good man.
Mostly
Yeah,
because
he
I'm
is good.
poor.
Hey man, Direful Dolls is a very
Also, good
solid deck.
man.
Don't underestimate
Nah,
the
Yeah.
power of dolls.
I'm actually picking up I'm picking up the promos for Mythiarch because I've always had Mythiarch. I just haven't had a chance to play it in a while.
It's a fun deck.
Yeah, it's a really fun deck, especially now because it has 5 attacks. We
Actually, now
love
that you
5
mention
attacks.
that,
5 attacks that aren't crap. They're okay. That's what matters.
like I think getting into Vanguard, right? If you kept your stuff, like let's say I don't know, you purchase your stuff until set 5. It's like you have your effect triggers and you have some get staples, and you're trying to get into the game state now. Currently, like I think you are on
Yeah,
a better start than someone that like never played in Overdress. Like, see, that's another budgeting point for Vanguard is like, did you keep your old stuff by chance that has the effect
yeah,
triggers? Then you're kind
Yeah.
of set.
Oh, yeah.
Cause I was trying to get a player that played until Overdress like when the PVO set came out,
yeah,
and when I was like, "Hey, what do you own?" and then he showed me a bunch of stuff, right? He has like 80% of Zorga, and then he has like all the effect triggers. I was like, dude, you can actually build a deck, like maybe less than $20 with the stuff that you have.
Yeah, and oh man, it's like we were saying earlier. Vanguard inflation, it's hitting us really hard right now, especially because we're coming right off the TCG kickback. And in my
Yeah.
opinion, things never contract back down to their original, even after kickback. Everything always goes up a little bit because there's just less stock to go around.
Hmm.
I think to help close off the cast is that I think what my wish list from Bushiroad is, as we mentioned before when we were discussing it, is I want truly dedicated reprint sets, like actually dedicated reprint sets. It's nice that they're putting them inside of main sets. Cool. We need more. We need more to make up for you making our energy cyclers triple R. We need more so that we can get players into the game, get them a lower bar of entry. For us veterans that have stock, we would like to not move my energy cyclers around between 10 decks that are all sleeved in the same sleeve.
Yep. I
Yeah.
can agree with that 100%.
Yeah. And, it's like we want more people to play the game. We want to play with different people. The more people that play, the more healthy Vanguard becomes. And I think a lot of old players I know that aren't getting back in because of the price is Bushiroad is basically saying we don't want you. And it kind of sucks when you have a game you really want to interact with and play, and the company sort of like low key just says, "Oh no, we don't want your money. We want the money of these people willing to pay the price, not you who wants to play the game."
Which is
And
unfortunate.
it sort of sucks. It really does. Um, I have like I'm the optimist here. Obviously, I hope that Bushiroad sees the good that Set 6 is going to do reprint wise. I hope that they get good ideas from that. And I hope that they push that into the future and they start reprinting. Like, even if it's at Triple R, they really should be reprinting staples that our decks needs. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, this is getting absurd.
No, I agree.
Mm. And,
Yeah, if I have a wish list from Bushiroad, it's similar to what you mentioned, Simon, is that I feel like the more reprints, the better, is what I say. And like,
mhm.
it doesn't even have to be a dedicated reprint set, from my opinion, as long as they continue to do any type of reprints, like even if it's like part of a set or whatever. Not, I think anything helps. And because I mean, I get it, like a reprint set would be nice, but I'm also like considering their like scheduling and their like budget between like sets and the anime sets and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
and it takes a
even,
long
yeah,
time to get a set down the pipeline.
because like the festival collection, that was technically a reprint set plus extra goodies, right? In a
Yeah.
way. So if they can do, like Simon mentioned, a once a year set like that, but also continue to do reprints of certain cards, I
Yeah.
feel like that would be very nice for the player base, and they're not losing anything, like from my perspective, because we're
Yeah.
still buying their products.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, because we're still gonna buy their
Abusive
boxes.
girlfriend, abusive girlfriend,
Yeah, yeah,
abusive
yeah.
girlfriend.
Like we're buying their products, right? Because we need the reprints. And like,
Yes.
Yeah.
remember how fast festival collection sold out? Like it was
Oh yeah.
gone. Like the first, not
Oh
even the
yeah.
first week. Like I remember at our locals, probably like 5 6 days. Like not even 5 6 days. Like probably like 2 3 days. It was gone. Like out of
Yeah.
Ours was
stores.
gone on day one.
Yeah, it was gone. Like they had nothing left by the next week I returned for locals.
Yep. Yep. They know it'll sell. They just need to print more.
Like set three, for example, was a very good set too, right? Not because of Shoujo Doji, it's because they reprinted Angel Ladder was one, but they also released one of the most best Blitz order, which was Twincast.
Hmm.
So I'm just like, set three, people were buying boxes. You know why? Because they wanted Angel Ladder, but they also
Yeah, they
wanted
were
the micro
chasing.
trigger. Yeah, exactly. So I feel like that as long as they continue to make reprints in each set and do like a festival collection set every year, I think that's pretty much what I would expect as a wish list.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Yeah, what you got, Mark?
I I really like the idea of not even a reprint set, but what I would like to see more of is I would like to see more constructed product.
Ooh,
Ah,
yes.
package product,
Yeah,
right?
package
So
products.
yeah, so
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
give us once every 3 months, give us, a Virgilla deck. It doesn't have to be Virgilla, but it's a way to give decks that are, for example, right? I wouldn't say use this exact deck, but in a few months down the line, give us a Bob Saga deck. Give us the fourth attack that it's been missing for so long. But you could also in that deck print your 4 copies of Fallheart, Drag Raider Fallheart, your energy cycler.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually,
Give us those in a reprint. Or you could, like, I'm not saying you have to reprint all of the good
yeah,
staples in all of the trial decks, but give us a playset of something.
yeah,
Because what
Yeah,
people
because
don't understand when we're all thinking about the prices of staples, right? And how it's like the game's accessible. The cool thing about if you gave new players 4 copies of one of these more expensive cards, right? Well,
they're gonna play them.
now not even that they have to play them. Now, if their friend goes, "Hey, I want to play that deck. I have some cards you want for Dark States." Cool. Take my 4 copies of Fallheart. This is really just like I'm getting some pieces from this deck, or I'm really just playing Bob Saga. I don't think I really want to play the Fallhearts in there anyways. You can take
yep.
those cards and make them into cards you want. So by giving them more constructed products, like decks specifically. It's really a cool. I think it's the best way because it doesn't make them. You don't have to make more product. You don't have to print more things. You don't have to do it as often. You don't have to make it as much money MSRP wise, but you can make it valuable to the players to buy the product. Because I know for a fact that quite literally everyone I know that plays Vanguard on a semi-competitive at worst level bought a copy of the Virgilla deck because they wanted to get the Union of the Sky. They wanted to get another Energy Crest because why not? Now you don't have to switch them between decks. So like that already made it worth it for them, and it was $18.
Yep.
It was like the starter decks sucked because they were $20, and the decks were never going to be good. You could print all the
They
support in the
were
world. Those decks
originally
are
$6 in Japan.
yeah,
F you, English Bushi.
Yeah, that kind of
yeah.
sucks.
Like those, I think that we need more $20 products that are decks because then what you can also do is you're like, hey, look, you tried the game. How about you don't even have to? Because I have a friend who quite literally just started playing Vanguard, but he doesn't want to spend any money. But like, hey, yo, it's a cool Christmas present. Here's $20 I spend for my friend. I give him a deck that's not terrible competitively, and he doesn't have to spend any money on it.
Yep.
And it gives him everything he needs. He's got his PGs, he's got his energy crest, he's got his energy counter, he's got all a solid deck for $20.
You know,
So I that's what I want to see more of. I want to see more constructed product that prints good staples in the deck itself.
now that
That
Mark
way
kind of
we're
mentioned
making
that,
it
right?
cheaper.
You know
Yeah.
what would be really cool is that maybe like next year or the year after, or I don't know. Let's say next year from now. Like late next year, like if they can reprint like a Raziel constructed deck or a Varga constructed deck, like not with the super expensive cards, but like somewhat of the set one stuff in a trial deck, I think
Yeah,
that would be kind of cool. Like a kind of constructed deck without the effect triggers, but like still have some of the Raziel stuff in it, right? Like I feel like that would be a good entry point too, because a lot of the players I remember they bought out sneaks for set one, and I think they had like 5 boxes. And same with the boxes that came in for set one, just because like one, obviously people got it for the staples, but two, that's like the entry point, right? And I feel like
yeah,
that if they do something like entry point with the constructed decks, but they decide to instead of making a whole new constructed deck, like just kind of like the Virgilla deck, they'll do a Raziel constructed deck. Because I think I remember I saw something in the announcements that Japan was doing something similar to that. So I think that would be kind of cool to see as well. Just
Yeah.
an
Yeah,
opinion.
if wishes, if wishes were fishes and stuff like that. So that's kind of like what this one's all been about. People talking about God, our game is expensive.
Yeah.
Bushi, please make cheaper. We're not experts, but we are players, and we all have a vested interest in wanting this game to be healthy and wanting this game to have more players, and that's how we get healthy, and to bring the bar of entry down finally. So
Yeah.
that's what I'll state on it. Like I said, that's probably all we wrote today. So, David, if you would.
All right, so let's do our weekly shoutouts. And actually, before we do, um, Domino Pairs, myself and Mark will be at Philly, this coming weekend. So if you do see us, well, Mark doesn't like the attention, but I don't mind. So you guys can come over to me and say hi.
Yeah. Say hi to David. Don't say hi to me.
Yeah, well, you guys probably don't even know how he looks anyway. So,
And make sure to say hi to me too.
wait, you're going to Philly?
No.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, shut the. No, I'm kidding.
Dang, man. I was so excited for like 5 seconds, bro. I'm not even gonna lie, bro.
No, dude, you have no idea. If Simon was coming over, I was considering just staying another day. But
Fair.
yeah,
Oh man.
make sure you guys come by and say hi. And I'm down to talk after the tournament because I'm pretty sure I'm probably gonna scrub out early rounds and
Me
I'll just be
too.
Yeah, scrub out. Let's go.
because I don't plan to play meta. I'm just gonna play whatever I think is fun. So.
My deck's meta by coincidence, not by choice. Turn card sideways.
But I'll be honest though,
Exactly.
I was talking to Mark. I feel like that I have a pretty good chance because I know my matchups. So we'll see how
Hey
far
man,
I go.
play well.
Yeah, play well.
Yep, play well.
But
True.
let's do our shoutouts. Let's start with Mark, Simon, and then I'll go last.
Sure. Shout out Curio Caverns. Shout out Swords and Spoons.
Which you're going tomorrow.
Yeah. Shout out to the new players, man, because of you guys, I get to not play this game anymore. Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, that's all I got, man. That's all I got.
Mine are the same as usual. I will shout out my local game store that we frequent, Mythos Games, at mythos.games in Utah. And always, like I said, they do online orders. Their customer service is great. And also my friend's store, The Fun Collector, at thefuncollector.net. Good man, he'll always make sure to take care of you. Also does shipping orders.
That's not a bad idea. All right. Well, me and Mark go to the same place, but shout out to Kiro Caverns. They have the Centerville and Springfield location. They have the Centerville location on Saturday, 7 p.m., and then the Springfield location on 7 p.m. in Springfield. And then shout out to Boba Hero, which they have locals on Mondays, 7 p.m. as well in Sterling. And also shout out to Domino Pairs 21 that has restarted his channel. Yay! And I'm pretty sure everyone's excited. I'll have the link down below, so make sure you guys go check his channel out. And I've been getting questions if I am gonna start videos. I'm probably not, but the most video content I'm thinking of is doing shorts and lives. Hopefully I am kind of thinking of doing a random live video during Philly. So yeah, so stay active. I'll probably swing my camera around. I'm like, yo, I'm at regionals, blah 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 blah.
Maybe people will know what I look like then. Maybe I'll pop up in one of your vlogs.
It's okay, I have a mask ready for you.
True.
No. After the Mr. Beast thing, don't put a mask on him.
True.
But you know what's funny, Mark, is people know how you look like because on my podcast picture, it's on.
Oh yeah, they do.
That's the picture you gave me. Yeah. Anyway.
Well.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this up. I would say next week we are going to be talking about Philly regionals. Most likely it's going to be Simon's going to be missing, so we'll have a guest speaker for next week. It'll be most likely me, Mark, and Gabe, and a guest speaker who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I will try my best to be present
Actually,
at
you
all.
might have it rough because you're going to be there for premium.
Yeah,
Yeah, actually,
so
yeah,
I'm
that
gonna
might be
be
rough.
up there that day, yeah.
Anyways, all right, well, thank you for listening, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.